2 minutes also, or is that 5? I think it's 3 today.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our event of the day. Can't hear me? Now you can hear me. I'll start all over again. Welcome. And happy to see all of you giving up some time today to come and listen to the two gentlemen who have decided to run for the board and give their time. A couple of housekeeping chores before we start. You were all given a sheet of paper when you came in with our guidelines. Please follow them. We're trying something new this year and want to keep everybody on track. So once you ask your question, go sit down and listen to their answers. Your questions have to be general enough so that both candidates can answer them. So there won't be anybody poking all their questions for one candidate or the other. Beyond that, just have a good time. Listen, read their bios on the website, listen to their videotapes, listen to what they have to say today. There will be time when we're done here for them to come and talk to you one-on-one. So if you have any specific questions for a candidate, that would be the time to ask them. Okay, with that being said, where's my master of ceremonies? Right behind me. I'm going to turn this over to Doug, who is going to take over from this point. So enjoy yourselves.
Good afternoon. My name's Doug Bishop. I'm an elections committee member that has been appointed to become the moderator for this portion of the meeting. Mark, John, thank you for putting your nominations in for the open board position. And also, I'd like to thank everybody that did come here, the homeowners, for their interest in the election and attending today. We're going to open with the candidates' prepared presentations. Mark, you won the toss at our meeting and are up first. Two rules, or I think there's 2 rules. You have about 3 minutes. You don't need to take the full 3 minutes, but Bill's sitting right up there with I'm warning you with 1 minute to go and a stop. But you can, if you're in the middle of getting a stop sign, finish the sentence, okay? Anyhow, Mark, you're up first for your presentation.
And I've got my stopwatch here too to remind me. So first, thank you all for coming. I mean, this is really cool to see the turnout. We didn't know what we would get in a situation like this. So thank you for coming. Also want to thank the elections committee for putting this on. And I want to thank the people that are helping me on the election side, put signs up, craft ideas and policies to bring to me. I want to thank you all for that. It's great to be here. A little bit about myself. So my bio is out on the table. I don't really want to necessarily go through that since you can read it. I'd like to spend a little bit more about why Ricky and I love living here. So we're coming up on 3 years. We found IronOaks by playing in the USTA Jason Morton tournament 3 years ago. We were here for 4 days. We come from Scottsdale. Kids were out of the house, so we were venturing out where we wanted to live next. We played in the tennis tournament here and looked at each other after, I think, day 3 and said, this is a really nice community. And the tournament had given us vouchers to eat in Stone and Barrel. And so we were having dinner at Stone and Barrel. And again, we looked at each other and said, this kind of feels really good. So we began looking for a home, and about 30, 45 days later, we purchased our home. We live right on, if any golfers are here, we live right on the second tee box of Sonoran, the yellow tees, the front tees. You'll typically see me out there working in the backyard, blowing off the backyard. I'm a clean freak. So we love living here. That's a little bit about us. We have 2 grown kids. One lives in Northern California in Walnut Creek, 31, and the 27-year-old lives up in Scottsdale. Both Ricky and I last week's board member meeting, a lady got up and asked the board, let me ask you, how many of you are members of the tennis club? No hands went up. Thank you, Bob. How many of you are members of pickleball? How many are you golfers? Well, I believe if you're going to serve on the board, that you should be involved in the activities of the community. We all move here for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons are the amenities. So I'm a member of the golf club. I golf on Monday and Wednesdays. Gene McIntyre's in the front row there in the blue top. He organizes our group of 20 guys. I plan Thursdays in Moga. We play Monday here at Oakwood, Wednesdays at Ironwood. I play in the tennis club, played with Bob Lynn in the member club championship 2 weeks ago, and I'll be playing in the mixed doubles tournament in 2 weeks as well. We're playing pickleball. Jack Fredrickson and I are signing up for the Pickle Barrel Classic coming up in March. So I do believe that you should be involved in the activities here so that you can experience them firsthand and you can relate the ideas and the opportunities we have in all of the amenities. You will see us out here. I think this Wednesday is the Boston concert here. So you'll see Ricky and I typically at 8 to 10 Billboard concerts, and we are typically at Stone and Barrel once or twice a month. So thank you, Doug, for asking.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I appreciate you coming to this event today. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. Some of you know me. I've been around for a while, doing lots of different things. I ran for the board back in, starting about 2012. Took me 3 tries to get on the board. What I found, and similar to what Mark's saying, is you need to be involved in the community and more than just running for a position. So I put my head down and said, I'm going to start getting involved in committees. First thing I got involved with is our unit captains committee in Unit 36C. And I found that of all the committees I was on, it's the grassroots committee. Those are the people that really understand what their parts of the community are doing. They do a great job of bringing that together as a group and passing that on to management. You know, we have a management team here that needs that information. It's very important. From there, I went on to take a position on our finance committee. At the time, our finance committee would have liaisons to other committees. Fortunately for me, because it was a disaster at the time, they gave me food and beverage. At that time, food and beverage was losing over budget about $600,000-$700,000 a year. We always felt where that money was coming from. We didn't know where, but it magically appeared. About a year in, I was elected chairman of the finance committee, went on to start looking at the budgets and ways to finance our growth and get rid of our losses. From there, I went on to run for the board again, the 3rd time, while I was still on the finance committee. And I won. And I won because of a couple factors. One is I did get involved. 2, people got to know me and what I could do as a team member on our board, not as an individual board member. That's important. We work as a team on that board. And in today's world, with Blue Star on site, we work as a team to really be oversight on Blue Star and make sure that they're giving us what we've contracted them for. It is a contract between us and Blue Star. And it's up to the community to make sure that the board members and the board and the committees understand that we need to pass that information up so that we can, on the board, give it to Blue Star and make the changes that we need to do to protect the value of our organizations, our association, the value of our homes, and the future value that we all are looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll prepare now for a Q&A session. I'm going to start off with the committee. Prepared 3 questions for both of you. During a Q&A, what we will do, both with these questions and the ones from the homeowners that will follow, we'll alternate who gets the pleasure of answering first. Question number 1 from the committee. What do you consider to be the primary functions of the board of directors? Mark, you won the first one.
Thank you, Doug. I think the primary responsibilities of the board, I look at this as not my election. It's your election. I look at myself as the funnel that takes all of the input Kevin Craig, are you in the room? I had an opportunity to speak to Kevin earlier this week. No different than other people that I've met this week. I look at myself as somebody that takes the funnel of information, the wants and wishes of the community, be able to decipher which ones have low-hanging fruit opportunities that can be addressed quickly, other ones that have to be put on a longer-term path. So I look at part of it as my responsibility in the board is to take the information from the community, decipher it, prioritize it, and be able to put it in a way moving forward that it's financially reasonable for us. I was meeting with another gentleman this morning as we came through the gate who had an idea. And I was saying the same thing. I just look as the board as a responsibility to not only take your ideas, prioritize them, move them forward. Secondly, and probably even more important, I think we have a responsibility to manage our relationship with Blue Star in a more proactive manner. I have attended since October 1, 43 board workshops, board committee meetings, committee meetings. We have 8 different committees here
Board
at
meeting
Iron
over there for
Oaks.
election.
Advisory groups.
I'm doing it right
seems
now.
to me that we can do a better job at proactively managing our relationship with Blue Star as it relates to financial areas and project priorities. It seems to me when you look at the org chart at Iron Oaks, the org chart is the board of directors on top, Blue Star below. In my opinion, through 43 meetings, it looks a little reversed. At many times, Blue Star's at top, we're beneath them, and they're telling us what to do. I'm a huge fan of John Linnell. I'm a huge fan of all of the Blue Star people here that work their tails off to make us, give us a better place to live. But I think we can do a much better job at being partners. I met with John in December. I met with the executive director of Cottonwood Palo Verde. I met with the executive director of Sun Lakes One and the executive director of Sun City Roseville, California in the last 60 days. I feel we can do a much better job partnering with John. When I asked John, what do you look for in a board member? He said, I want a partner. I want a partner that I can work with and that will help me drive Iron Oaks to a better place. So 1, take your ideas, decipher and prioritize them. 2, I think we need to step up to the plate and be a partner in a stronger manner with Blue Star.
I believe the board, similar to what Mark's saying, has both a management responsibility and inside of that, a fiduciary responsibility. It's our responsibility as board members to ensure the association and its members that we're putting in front and agreeing with the budgets that come out of Blue Star. I mean, they're in control of that today, but obviously our board has the oversight and the ability to make or ask for and make changes. I think that in the past, and looking at both sides of this, historically, we were a board-run organization, and that was awful, right? It just didn't work. We spent a lot of money going nowhere. Blue Star was brought in for their management expertise, and they are expert in the fields that they've been successful in, and those are the ones that we obviously are using them for. And we need to manage them that way. They need to understand what our organization wants strategically as well as tactically, and make sure that they are going to meet the objectives and goals of those things that we measure them by. I look back at our original contract with Blue Star, and there was a 4-year process that they were going through. They met those goals, but they met them, what I would say, in using our employment to manage to get to the goals that they were looking for. And I think that's wrong. I think we need to make sure that we understand where they're putting employees and why, where they focus and why. We're looking at new expansions again. Have we corrected the things that we have today before we start moving into the next phases? Anyway, I think that the board has control. The board is responsible. The board should make mention through our board president, by the way. The board members are working through an organization too, We should not stand out alone, and that can be a problem when that happens. But I think the board can and will, and I intend to help that if I get on the board. Thank you. And when I get on the board.
Before moving on to the second question, for the homeowners in attendance here, these three questions were prepared by the elections committee in an executive session. Nobody outside the committee have been given any foreknowledge or whatever hints as to what the questions are. Question number 2, this one goes to John. Define what you believe should be the working relationship between the board and IronOaks management.
Sort of started to step on that before. The board is very active, and that's good. The board members in the past, historically and currently, they invest a lot of their own personal time in this. We need to make sure that we're participating in the board, but that comes through what? It comes through our committee organization, our structure. It's up to us, and by the way, as liaisons in many cases to those committees, to bring that information up to the board so that the board can chew on that in the workshop structure, making sense out of it before we go to the board meeting. And by the way, I was one of the ones that, and Doug can remember this, we started the workshop part of the organization back in 2015 to 2016, and it's worked extremely well. But we need to make sure that we're feeding the information back up and then holding their feet to the fire. But part of that is initially creating a budget, a plan that they have to put meat into. They have to do the strategic part of this. The tactical part stays in the board. We should not be down in the trenches with them. That's not our job. Our job is to make sure that they are sending back the information we need to make sure that they're meeting the objectives that we've agreed to. And by the way, something I want to add too, I never got out of working with the organization since I left the board. I've created a committee back in, I forget exactly when, maybe 2017, when we were fighting SRP. I put together a committee of all the associations, all three of us. Funded it through the associations, hired an attorney, and fought hard so that SRP didn't put very large tension lines down Riggs Road and into our property, and we won that battle. I'm also in an Intel Corporation CAP committee, and I've been on that for 9 years. My responsibility is to bring things from our organization to Intel to make sure that they're not stepping on us. It's worked very, very well. So I've always been, for the last 9-10 years, working for this community, working hard to make sure that the outside of the world is also not affecting us. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Same question to you, Mark.
Thank you, Doug. Not only have I attended 43 meetings since October 1st, but I joined the Architect and Landscape Committee committee with Pat, where we evaluate and approve any exterior changes that any of us may want to do to the exterior of our homes. Just wanted to add that in because I forgot that the last time. Working relationship with between the board and the management company. As I said previously, I'm a fan of Blue Star. I want to make that very clear. I'm a fan of how they've been able to turn IronOaks around financially. At the end of the day, money talks. And we need to make sure that we're in a financial position to be able to move forward in a positive manner. That goal is kind of accomplished, and we've got a good path going forward. I think that John would look at Michelle. I thought Michelle would Linnell would Gunnar would I think they would like more engagement with us in a positive, productive manner. We just signed the 5-year agreement. We renewed the agreement with Blue Star for 5 years. And immediately I hear negative talk out there. Why would you ever call a partner who you willingly, knowingly signed a 5-year agreement with anything but positive things going forward? That document's done. Now let's start working to the future. So when I look at the working relationship between the board and the operating company, Blue Star, John, because it comes down to it's John, I think we can do a much better job at partnering in a positive, proactive manner with always keeping our eye on our financial responsibilities as not only the board, but as homeowners. We all have personal financial limitations. We need to do whatever we can to keep this community moving forward while protecting our personal financial situations. Got a little bit more to say on that. I'm going to hold back on it for just a moment. But the working relationship, positive, proactive, friendly. If John's in that restaurant grabbing dishes off of a table and I'm done eating, I'm going to ask him, can I help you grab some dishes and put them in the kitchen? If John's out there grilling hot dogs at the member golf tournament 2 Thursdays ago, and he needs some help putting hot dogs on a plate or picking up trash from the tables, I'm going to ask him, can I help? I'm in this with him. Thank you.
Final question from the committee. In your opinion, what is the most important issue facing the board and the HOA at present? Mark, you're up first.
Thanks again, Doug. You know, I've gone on about the partnership, biggest issue. So I'm going to switch. I think the biggest issue we have, communication. And I'm looking at Michelle in a positive manner. We were in the communication advisory group meeting 2 weeks ago, and it's typically held once every 3 months. And I would ask all of you in the audience, how many of you feel like you know what's going on here on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week? Very few hands would go up. Well, you're involved in all the meetings like I am, so of course you would know. But I think the biggest challenge we have is communicating from our operating company via the board to the community. Since the last month or two, when I told some of my friends and people I golf with that I was considering doing this, the main question is, what are we doing here? What are we doing there? We don't know anything. So if I could look at low-hanging fruit to look back a year from now, if I'm elected, what would be 1 or 2 or 3 of our biggest accomplishments? It would be communication. And I don't mean to keep looking at Kevin, but I had an opportunity to talk to Kevin about bike lanes and golf cart lanes on the main strip here. Why we don't have them boggles my mind. Let's communicate. Let's figure out why. Let's make sure no one gets hurt, including myself, including anybody that's walking the main streets. But I would think if we could accomplish one major goal among the other things we have to do,
on the back.
create a better environment of communication.
I disagree with that. Here's why. We have a communication line. It starts from the bottom up. That's why we have committees. That's why we have committee meetings. That's why we have liaisons to the board. That's why we have the board. I really believe it's managing the future. We have a master plan. It's a plan. It doesn't mean that if we're going to do it. It means that there's something out there that says we should look at these things. When we get into the strategy of that plan, that's where it becomes really important. And what do you need to make that plan work? Cash, money. How do we get it? We get a lot of our money that we use for capital goods, capital projects, from our FACE fund. And I see Charlene out there. She was a big help in making that happen and pulling it together. It's been a lifesaver for many of the people that live in this community because it comes through based on new people coming in. How do we attract new people coming in? Having a community they want to live in. As Mark said, he wants to live here. He came and saw what we give people. He came to this organization, this committee, this association, these homeowners that are around here. That pays, the FACE fund pays a lot of these things through homeowners coming in and buying new homes for the things that we don't get assessed for. Huge numbers. I mean, the things that we've done recently in this organization, 98%, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe 95% of that came through FACE fund money or reserve. It's another thing that we're very good at because we have good financial people that have been on the board for a while and in the organization that Blue Star furnishes us. But I really think it's looking at the future. The only way to keep this community going forward is to ensure that we have you telling us what has to change, what brings new people in, why they would come here, what they need. We don't want to overdo what we have, overproduce. I think Blue Star does a great job. I was one of the people that brought them in, and I'll stand behind them every day. So I really think it's the plan. It's the future. I think that's the biggest issue for the board.
Thank you. We go to the next session or next portion of this session, which is something that we haven't done in the past in Iron Oaks, which is bring the homeowners in attendance up to the microphone if they so desire. We have a couple of procedural items, we'll say. First off, homeowners only. Please identify yourself along with either your address or your unit lot number. Only one question from the homeowner that comes up, please. And let's see. Oh, here we go. Have to read the rest of these notes. To be equitable, provide an equitable treatment. What we're going to do is continue with the alternate first, second on the questions. Both candidates will be required to answer the questions, but we are asking that the questions be generic so that both candidates can. In other words, don't ask, Harry, why did you do this? Anyhow, please don't repeat the questions if somebody's already asked, and the microphone is open to anybody who wishes to come up. I'm not going to say Reggie Wegman is coming up, but sure she is. I said it anyway.
Should have just stood up there.
Hello, my name is Reggie Wegman. I live in Unit 32A, Lot 19. In case anybody doesn't know where that is, it's behind the Methodist Church on Riggs Road. I've lived here for almost 25 years. I've probably attended hundreds of board meetings, workshops, every other kind of thing. I have a question. Do you believe the $2 million price tag to reinvent the poolside is a good decision for our community at this time, in light of the fact that this has been tried at least 3 times that I know of? Thank you.
Wow, that's a great question. It's one of the things that's got me up here on the dais. I do not believe that we should spend $2 million on poolside. I believe we should invest in poolside to continue with where it is today. It's a club room. It's a coffee. It's a place for coffee, for mahjong, for bridge and the other games that we play, and other uses, renting it out for special parties and things like that. If we're going to spend $2 million, the first thing that needs to be fixed are our gates. I'm sick and tired at 4:30 in the morning leaving the Dobson gate and I can't get out because this comes up, but this closes. I'm not in favor of the poolside addition of restructuring or redevelopment or whatever it's going to be. Plus, we don't need another restaurant. That's what we got rid of when we brought Blue Star in. We don't need it. It's not necessary in today's world. Thank you.
It's a great question. It's a big question. I rely on people like Shar that take the input of the community, that creates the master plan to create a path forward for all of us. I have a belief as it relates to money in Iron Oaks. Whether you know it or not, a lot of our infrastructure is in dire need of attention. Our infrastructure is crumbling for a variety of reasons. We're shutting down the Lakes course for 5 months starting May to redo the main water line, soil mitigation, and so on. When I look at a price tag of $1.9 million, Reggie, it concerns me. It also concerns me that the same, and I know John's here, that the same designers, the same folk who worked on the fitness center would most likely be involved in that project. So if I'm elected to the board, and if the poolside renovation goes through, goes through, if the community votes to go through, I would make darn sure that it looks the way we want it to look. It operates the way we want it to operate, not only aesthetically, but fiscally. And I don't want it to look like the fitness center. I don't want us ending up with the fitness center. With that being said, our assets here within IronOaks, I look at it three ways. Many of them need to be repaired or replaced. Repaired and replaced because our infrastructure is dying out here. Number two, the infrastructure needs to be maintained in a way that we're not replacing pumps in a lake every 4 years at the tune of $150,000. It's unacceptable for me. But number three, and I do look at Shar, we must move forward. We must. The amenities are what attracted us to move here. I'm sure the amenities were a reason why a lot of you wanted to live here. So in order to keep those amenities strong and moving forward, a master plan does need to be backed. So Reggie, it's hard to say, am I in favor of spending $2 million? At this point, I'm not. I would like more investigation. I would like more understanding before we drop $2 million and we walk back in and it looks like the fitness center. I would feel sick to be on the board and look at any of you in the eye and say, yeah, I voted for that. And that's what we ended up with.
Reggie, thank you for the lead-in. So let's assume, oh, I'm sorry. I'm Fred Alford. Let's see, 45B 24. Poolside is on track. I think we're going to, bid on it. It still has to come for approval. Assuming it gets approved, that will absorb all of our existing and future face fund dollars through the end of 2024. The next up on the list would be fitness center. I'm just going to throw out a conservative figure of $5 million. So we're at January of 25. How would you pay for fitness center? Do you let the face fund run, which accumulates at $1 million a year for 5 years? Do you borrow money, or you do a special assessment, or a combination of all of them? By the way, thank you guys.
Thank you, Fred. I think I would do a combination. I had a great conversation with Dale Goodwin. Dale runs our finance committee. I had a conversation with him on Thursday, I believe, Thursday afternoon. And I had that similar question posed to him. And even when talking to Shar, right before I talked to Dale, it would be a combination, if we were to do it, Fred, of all of the above. Now, it's easy to look back. We wish we could have borrowed $20 million last year at 3% interest. Now interest rates are coming down. I think right now it's about 6.7%. But that means it's double the cost. Inflation has eaten up a lot of the costs to build anything nowadays. So if we were to do it, if the community voted on it, in my opinion, it would be a number of those vehicles to fund such a project. Prior to that, do I think the fitness center needs to be rebuilt? Yeah, it does. And you talk to anybody that's been here for a long time, it was never built as a commercial building. It's wood studs. It was built as a residential building. There could potentially be mold behind those walls. It needs to be leveled and rebuilt. And as Fred said, yeah, very conservative cost is going to be $5 million. So we do need a new fitness center though. So we're going to be faced as residents. Again, I already asked if I could get down and talk to you all on the floor, and I can't. So I'm tying myself to my chair. We're going to be faced with a lot of great opportunities here, but they all cost money. And I do rely on somebody like Dale Goodwin and Ann Burbank to educate us on the vehicles that we can use to fund some of these projects. The worst thing that can happen is we do nothing with the fitness center and somebody gets ill because of mold or it collapses. So being on the board, working with management, we must find a way to move forward with the master plan as fiscally responsible as we can.
I'm sort of similar in what Mark's saying, but having history here, We know how many times the fitness center's been looked at. And by the way, the last time was to rid ourselves of mold. If those around here remember, we were having water from the showers and everything in the back that had contaminated the walls and everything. And so we tore all that out and obviously eradicated the mold and put it back together in a nicer state. And that's the fitness center I believe we have today. One of the things we do well is doing things over. And that has to stop, right? And I think that it's true that do we need a new fitness center? Depends on what new means, right? Do we need it to suit the amount of people that want to go there, are going there today and will go there in the future? Yes. I mean, that's the reason we have it. It does bring in our community. We want our community to come together in different ways, right? By the way, borrowing money would not be in my plan in the future. I would debate that, and I think Ann would say the same thing. Borrowing money in this environment would be a mistake. I think the only time we did possibly was the golf course, and I think that was short term. I may be wrong on that. There were some large assessments. Again, the pool side, the things that are on our plate today, right, are what? It's the pool side additions, and that's going to take a lot of money. Do we want to assess our community? I don't think so. I think because we still have a community made up of a lot of different people with different statuses, and I put that and I respect that. That you say, well, we're going to have an assessment this year of $500, $1,000. Where's it come from? We've been very cautious on assessing our community, and we've done a very good job. Why? Because we did plan. We looked at things. We didn't over address it, although we've done things multiple times. So in my opinion, I think we go back and look at that again. Say, does the community want it? Yes, they do. But how do we do it without breaking the bank and going out for funds at interest rates that we all would hate to have today? Thank you.
Okay. My name's Kevin Craig. I'm in Unit 46A, Lot 43. My question has to do with a traffic calming assessment study that was done at the board's behest back in 2021. It was reported to the board in 2022. Several of the recommendations were implemented. I want to thank you for doing that, whoever was on the board. However, there was a certain part that wasn't, and that had to do with putting striping on E.J. Robeson Boulevard and Sun Lakes Boulevard to make the road safer for the non-motorized traffic there, which could include golf carts, of course. The Buildings and Grounds Committee said that, you know, that was a good idea, but they weren't going to go forward with it, that the request had been made prior to the study and they had rejected it in the past. And my question to you is, where do you stand on implementing a safer, quieter E.J. Robeson and Sun Lakes Boulevard for our community? Something that's been recommended by a traffic engineering study done professionally at some expense to HOA 3. Thank you.
Here again, I think we've studied that in a couple different ways over time. Past, we looked at the additional traffic types: walkers, bicycles, golf carts. There was times when we were looking at sidewalks, additional sidewalks on the side. We were looking at striping. I think the Robeson Sun Lakes Boulevard is one of the areas that we should do something to make sure that the people that are using it in different forms are safe, and whatever that might be. And I think it's striping that would probably be the best thing. The calming, I'm not sure what exactly that means, to keep people from going too fast or too slow or getting in the way, walkers crossing at the wrong place. And we have a lot of that, especially from here. They start that way, then they're crossing across. So there's different ways to do that. And I think we should do something. I don't have that answer, but I think striping would be the start of that. Maybe some additional lighting. When I say lighting, it could be just stuff along the side of the street that says, another road's up there, slow down. And I'm not talking about our speed meter. Different types of things to cause us to be cautious of the things that might be in front of us. But I'm really not in favor of I'm in favor of doing it, but I don't know what that will turn out to be. On the side streets, I wouldn't suggest it. There's no room. There's just absolutely no room. I think we all need to just pay attention to where we're at and how we're driving. One of the things that irritates me in driving through the community, the garbage cans, and I've been on this 12 times. They take it out of our driveways where some people actually put them so they're not in the street, and they put them back in the street. What's that do? It saves the driver one stretch on the machine, but it puts them in the street. And with the winds recently, they were in the street blown over. So it's another one of those things that we've gone after before. We didn't do anything. We need to do something this time that'll prevent people from being injured, but also people need to be wise enough to say, I know there's traffic here. I need to pay attention.
Very similar, and Kevin and Terry, his wife, thank you for coming and asking that question. My mom lives in Sun City, Roseville, outside of Sacramento, California. When we walk in our front entrance here and we look to the left, there's Linda sitting at the desk. If you walk into Sun City, Roseville, there's my mom, 90-year-old Ida Sadowski, sitting at the desk for the last 25 years. In their community, Del Webb Boulevard, main drag like ours, there's always been a golf cart lane and a bicycle lane. We got here, the road's wide enough. I don't understand why we don't have it. So as you know, as we've talked, I'm very much in favor of doing that. And it parlays into something, by the way, I just wanted to share, it parlays into something even bigger. Just wanted to tell you all, membership numbers last year for the fitness center, 1,718 residents are members of the fitness center. On an average day, 228 people use the fitness center, 249 on a high use the fitness center. So when you see the numbers, you have to think $5 to $8 million, 250 people a day on average. You've got to include all of these in the equation. Back to the striping. It goes along with when I said earlier, what do I look at as success a year from now? I think we have a tremendous amount of low-hanging fruit, high-quality projects that can be accomplished. Ray Burbank is here in the room. He's the current chairman of the Buildings and Grounds. Ken Groves, who's the incoming chairman, is in the room too. I forwarded your study to Ken to think about. I think things like that, the garbage can is actually funny. I don't know why we have 2 pickups each week for garbage, and yet the recycle comes once every 3 weeks. My recycled can is full. It's my garbage can that's empty. I'd like to see 1 garbage pickup each week, 1 recycle pickup each week. You know, you look at little projects like that, low hanging fruit. I think that's what we can accomplish, including striping. Ricky and I drive on our golf cart on that main drag. We walk it, we get off of it as fast as we can. I played golf Monday and Thursday this week here at Oakwood. And somebody asked me, did you notice the new street signs? Golf cart crossing, stop. I didn't notice them because I just assumed they were always there. And then thank you, Rach. We were talking yesterday and she said, well, they used to be there, but then they got faded and we took them down. We took down stop in golf cart crossings where people can get killed. I didn't notice them. I just assumed those are table stakes that we have to have as a safe community.
Going to break it to a little bit different. Mary has a problem talking on a microphone. We'll just put it that way. How's that? She's whispering. That's what she can do. No problem, Mary. Anyhow, Mary Perry, Unit 34-242. I'll read her question that she's written down. I moved here in 2019. There have been many changes since I purchased my home in 2019. What do you see as the positive changes and the negative changes? I think it's
I
up to
thi-
you now, Mark.
I think so. So again, many of us, all of us move here for a variety of reasons. The location, the security, the amenities, the activities, no kids. We move here for a variety of reasons, but can anybody tell me what's the number one reason, the best thing about living here? The people, the people. The best thing about living here are the people. We have met so many wonderful people in the 3 years that we've been here, whether it's through our activities, socially, dining, neighbors, and so on. The positive change, I think, is that having the people here, that's a great thing. You being new like me, you would probably say this is a great place. Everybody's really friendly. Everybody waves when you drive down the street or walk down the street. We are one of those people when we moved in that the big dumpster showed up on the driveway, and we renovated the interior completely. We renovated the exterior completely. So when you see people coming into a community like this and are willing to invest money, it's a very positive sign that people want to be here and they want to stay here, and they're showing it with their money. So I think that's a positive to see on one aspect. I think that the progress we've made in our amenities. I play pickleball all over the valley. I play tennis all over the valley. Our tennis facilities, our pickleball facilities are as good as anything out there. Our golf facilities, they're run so well. The course is in great shape. Everybody that plays here, whether they're current members or outside the community, always compliment living in the people that live in Iron Oaks. The negative. What's the number one best thing about living here? People. You're always going to have people that are not happy no matter what we do here, no matter what. I would love to see that communication improve where people know what's happening. They don't look around. I personally, you can't comment. I would personally like to know what's going on with Grill on the Green situation. I know what was told last Wednesday at the board meeting. I know we're probably barred from saying certain things for legal and law purposes, but I'd like to know something. So I think the worst thing here is just still we all need to know more. And yes, everything's on the web. All these papers here you see, I found on our website and I read them all. But I think the best thing about here are the people coming in that are new, they're invested in the community, they're invested in the friendships. And the worst thing that we can work on is the communication aspect. Thank you for asking, Mary. John?
It's, I guess, similar people, but I would say it's the staff that keeps this place running are so important to us. And it's been a positive change because Blue Star wasn't here. And also Blue Star didn't do all the things they're doing today. So I really believe that one of the pluses is look at this room, for example. It's gone through a couple of changes. The most recent change has done a lot for it, but it's the people that manage this organization, the people that put this together today for us, the people that cook the food in the restaurants, the people that cut the grass and keep the streets clear of trees when there's a storm and they have to get up the next day and clear the trees away. It takes a lot to do that. And we have a great staff. We truly do. Thanks to John and the rest of the organization. We really appreciate it. The people that are sitting in this room obviously are very important and positive. There's, I feel that we moved here for a couple reasons too. One of them was security. I believe the security in our association is bar none. And I believe that we do a great job of keeping our community safe. I'll use an example, being involved with Intel on the construction that's going on today. I was at the forefront of getting that wall. People didn't want it, but today it's going to keep us safe. It's going to keep us safe from the interference of their construction that's going on, but future. They've also making sure that they put gates at both ends of that to protect the interior part of that we don't want people moving in, and that happens. You can see that around us. So I think, again, it's the people that keep us keep us safe, keep us secure, the people that continue to support us in the organization, that bring the good things that we have, the amount of people that can go to our health center and be able to do 1,700, however the number was, people. It's a lot of people, but they keep it clean, they keep it organized. And again, I think it's us and them, and we work together well.
Anything negative?
No. You know, what's to be negative? If you're negative, I think there's, and Mark mentioned it, that the other side of the complaints are important too. I think the complaints are as important as the positive approach, because the complaints keep us on our toes. So I don't think you could pick on this organization and say there's in a larger vein anything really negative, or we wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here today. This is very positive to me to see the number of people that have shown up today. It's a positive move. You're interested in how this organization runs. So I'm taking extra time. I'm sorry.
I'm Paul Archipoli, and I am unit 43, and I think lot 15 or 18, not sure which one. I have a philosophical question, and that is, I've heard the term growth used a few times in the last hour. And given that we can't grow with the number of homes or residents, what does growth mean specifically to you, both of you, in this context?
Growth is continuing on with the organization, the residents, and you could go the other direction. We could not grow, and to me, growing is having empty houses that people can't buy for all kinds of different reasons, or don't want to buy. So I think the other side of growth is what we do to continue to have the ability, or have an organization, homes in the association that people want, and to maintain the amenities we have, again, so that people want to be here. Pickleball was a huge fight. We fought that for years, both sides, and it all wrapped around noise. And in my opinion, it wrapped around people having fun. But we finally settled it. We took an approach that we had to do this. We're going to do this. Why do we want to do this? Because it's important to the community overall. Did it affect people? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Are we wrong in doing that? No, we weren't. I think we did everything that we could to protect them, those people that would be interfered with because of the activity. But then to bring it to the community so that we will grow. And in my opinion, growth is not having empty houses. So that'd be my approach to that.
Paul, it's a great question. I don't know if any of you have looked at the budget, but we have an $18.8 million budget for this year. And that's growth compared to last year's budget. It's an 11.37% increase over 2023 revenues. Where does that money come from? John did a presentation last Tuesday at the Finance Committee meeting on what we're doing to leverage the renovation of the ballroom. They're doing door-to-door, they're doing digital media, they're doing all kinds of campaigns to attract more weddings, more functions here now that we have a renovated ballroom and the turf that's been put outside the patio over there for weddings and such. So we are growing at a good clip. I mean, a double-digit increase in revenue from last year. It also comes from our golf operation. So at an $18.8 million, I just wanted to share 4 numbers with you. $18.8 million budget for this 2024. Our dues make up 43% of that revenue, roughly $8.2 million. Next in priority is the F&B operations at $5.4 million, golf at 4.3. When I was speaking to, and I'll say it, when I was speaking to the executive director at Cottonwood Palo Verde, I asked him a question. I said, what is 1 or 2 things that you could change in your community? As we know, they're private. He said, you know, Mark, you guys have a huge advantage being public. You can use your golf course operation, your golf course facilities to bring in corporate events, Arizona Golf Association events, any outsider event, in addition to allowing the public to play our course. He says, I cannot increase my revenue like you can. I have to just raise the dues from our existing golf members. So there is growth. There's growth in all areas of our organization here. Again, an $18.8 million budget is 11% higher than last year. So I think double-digit growth is very strong. If that continues, and at some point, Paul, we may reach a limit. You know that. We may max out everything here, but I still think we have a lot of runway left to be able to leverage the assets that we have. It could be an outside pickleball tournament. In about 4 weeks, we have the USTA Jason Morton tennis tournament. We can do more to leverage our assets here to bring in increased revenues. That's how I look at it. But thank you for asking the question.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your interest in coming onto our board. My name is Jim Wegman. I live at 32A19. I'm married to Reggie, and there's not too many people here that have been here longer than we have, coming on 25 years. Each and every board that comes along promises to do better. They work harder, and they find communication to be a problem. And so I'll ask this question very simply. Tell me what you're going to do to increase the information flow from board members or committees to the people of this community. I really like to know. Either one of you or both of you, I would prefer.
So if you grabbed my bio, outside, bottom right is my email address. Many of you are on my email distribution list, and I'm doing YouTube videos, Minute with Mark, to just give you my thoughts on the campaign and what is needed here at IronOaks. I think I have a good relationship with John. I think John is very open to getting that feedback from us. I have the impression that John wants an engaged partner. And I'm saying it the way I'm saying it because I don't know any different. Working with Michelle, working with Linnell, I have found them to be very open and willing to be partners. Me personally, you can ask the people in the room who know me. You can ask my neighbors who know me. I'm a get involved person. So to directly answer the question, I would strongly encourage our board to be more communicative in a proactive way. I think there's areas where we can provide feedback. I'll not use the word, a negative type of word. I think we can provide positive feedback to John to say, no, you know what? We don't agree with this. We need to go in this direction. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to be living here for another 5, 10, 20, 30 years. There's the possibility that exists that Blue Star may not be our operating partner in 5, 10, 20 years. But we have to live with those decisions that we make today. Pardon? And so I would make sure that I encourage the board to be very vocal, to be more vocal than we are, to engage with John and the team, to share what our desires are. As he told me, he has a hospitality, server mentality. So he wants to make this place better. He wants to satisfy us. But if we're not going to tell him what we want and what we don't want, how is he going to be successful? It's just who I am.
I don't think our communication's bad. And here's the reason I say that, is we do have a structure that feeds information to the board and feeds information to John. And I think the board, as a board, has partnered with John, short-term and long-term. I think we got to be careful that we don't become individuals trying to enact policy changes. We want to make sure that we're doing it as the team that's put together. The structure that feeds the community today, again, I said something about early on, is the committees that we have, obviously. We get a lot of information from every one of them. They're strong. They offer really good information. It's not a club. It's a committee that feeds information back to the board through the liaisons, the board back to John. The workshops that we do are structured to bring information to the board and to management without the influence of the community. And I believe it works really well. And I look out there and I know a lot of you people from being time here, and a lot of time it's the same people that show up. That's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad, but we need to find a way, if there is a change. I'll use another thing. I was the one that got involved and created that little document that's in a post by the gates. Everybody laughed at that. And they said, oh, nobody communicates that way anymore. Yes, we do. People like that document. There's ways to communicate in our organization today that are maybe underused, but I don't believe we don't have a method. I believe we do have a method that does work well. The amount of, I hope we all get emails. If you want them, by the way, you don't have to have them. You can tell the organization you don't want to be part of that communication system. But I think we are informed. Just this meeting today, how many times did we get reminders and things that came out? There's a schedule for, and you have to be involved. If you want to be involved, and Mark said that, he's involved. Well, not everybody wants to do that though, and that's okay. We have a community that's made up of a lot of different people, but I think we do communicate well.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Kahn, and I live at 24012 South Stony Path Drive. So, well, we've been here for 3 years. And the thing that I'm starting to see, and I feel like I don't really know where to go to fix it or to even talk to somebody about how to fix it, is, well, one of the things is the restaurant. Okay, we like to go to the restaurant this, a couple times a week or something like that. And I'm finding that we're getting kind of outpriced. It's so expensive now, $35 for a piece of fish. Drinks are like twice as much as they are across the street. And we have some disposable income, but I feel like some people don't have that much. And that if, as a community, is there any way that we could, address that somehow, that it doesn't have to be more expensive than the restaurants downtown Chandler? That's just my experience. Same with golf. Like, we could never afford to both golf in the morning more than once a week, maybe. So I feel like we're getting a bit outpriced, and it's changed over the last 3 years. Is there anything about that you would maybe consider or agree with, or is there a possibility to make changes once it's already done?
If I can start to answer that, I think we all live in a world today that we're seeing prices go up everywhere. We do have 2 restaurants here that maintain different menus and different pricing structures. The Stone and Barrel is I don't want to call it, it's a higher level of service and food types than it is across the street. Doesn't mean quality's worse or better or not good, but it's today's economy. I don't know what we're supposed to do. I mean, that if you look, I've got friends that own restaurants, and one of the things they're fighting today is credit card fees. It's 2 to 3%. The lack of people buying alcohol anymore. Alcohol is going down. Alcohol is a big thing in a restaurant. They make a lot of money on the revenue for alcohol. I don't believe we're overpriced for the service that we give. And I do believe we give, in some cases, extraordinary service. You get a lot of restaurants today and there's not enough staff to do anything with. We have a great, again, back to the staff here. We have a great staff. We could change to a different style of food, but I don't think that's where we want to go. I appreciate your comments, but I don't think, I know we're not overcharging. Golf's another example. I think we're probably the most reasonable golf fees from a membership standpoint, especially in our area of the valley, but throughout the valley. I think we're very competitive for the service. Again, we've got 45 balls of golf. That's a lot of golf that can be played. So I understand your question. I know that the organization does not want to overprice. Here's an example. If the restaurant had to pay the total overhead, it would be really bad. But you have to understand the structure, because we as association members take a lot of that and pay for it as part of our responsibility. So the total overhead isn't put against the staff, the food and things like that. Again, I think there's ways and it needs to be looked at, but overall, I don't believe that we're overpriced for the service.
Kathleen, thank you and for asking that question, and thank you and Ara for always being out there on the tennis courts, pickleball courts and such, and supporting the community. To piggyback on what John said, there was an annual homeowner data survey released last April 2023 that showed how our dues compared to competing communities within the neighborhood. And we were on the lower, if not right in the middle end. So that made me feel good that our dues are fairly reasonable. The U.S. Labor Department just released their jobs report yesterday. 383,000 jobs were added in January, double what they expected. Wages went up year over year, 4.5%, piggybacking on what they went up during COVID. So we all experienced that. I would rely on Blue Star, only because he's sitting here, I'll keep saying it, John. I would rely on Blue Star and John to evaluate through our FMB, our point of sale data, and he did this in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, how many items sold last year, what the items sold last year, what the average ticket price was. So I would rely on them, quite honestly, because I don't run an F&B outlet. I would rely on John and the Blue Star team to be able to tell us what's selling at what price. Obviously, there's a limit to anything and everything we all pay. And I rely on John to be able to combine that data with his need to grow the revenues. Make no mistake, I believe that John gets paid by IronOaks, but they're most likely, can't tell, some bonus on the back end from Blue Star. So it's in his best interest to make sure we hit not only our revenue goals, but our expense goals. In summary, I would rely on him because he's got the point of sale data that I do not have. And when he does share it with us, then again, we get engaged and we say, well, maybe John, maybe we should, if we lowered this by 50 cents, would that help? If we took this item off the menu and added something else, would that help? But I rely on the expert on that one.
If I could say one thing before you walk away, one of the things I said earlier points to this. As a community, we're very diverse. We need to ensure that we listen to that and don't start doing things that put more financial pressure on our homeowners. Enough said.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's CJ Berry and I live on Diamond Drive over in Unit 45, lot number 3. Thank you for being. Thank you. So this is somewhat of a follow-on question to the one related to growth before. So there are some areas that we're experiencing rampant growth in. I'm talking specifically about the pickleball activities and probably a lot of the other amenities in ways. And based on the dramatic growth in the pickleball numbers over the last several years, there's an argument to be made for those courts are going to be become almost fully utilized sometime soon. So I'm just wondering if either one of you has a vision for how that can be accommodated moving forward?
Thanks, CJ, for asking that question. When Ricky and I lived up in North Scottsdale on the McDowell Mountain Ranch, we actually started the pickleball club up there, gosh, 10 years ago, I guess now. And we started by just taking the 2 tennis courts that we had in our little neighborhood there and getting out with blue tape, painter's tape, taping off the courts and using temporary nets. We did that for a year until we were able to convince the homeowners association to paint the blue lines in there so we could just put out the temporary nets and start playing. Watching our growth in pickleball here, which is phenomenal. We have about 450 members in the pickleball club compared to about 250 members in the tennis club. And as I was playing last night, my tennis match up in Phoenix Tennis Center, we were talking about pickleball. It's a great sport. It's very social. It's fun to play. A lot of people can pick up a paddle and start playing in 5 minutes. So we need to be aware of that growth. The first thing that I would explore, we have 2 courts out there that have ball machines, pickleball machines. I'm told that we can't use them to have regular pickleball play. I would investigate that further as to why. If it's a neighborhood issue, if it's the neighbors that live right there, perhaps we open them between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. to at least alleviate some of the pressure on the existing pickleball courts. The second step I would do is we've got court 9 on the tennis courts back there, court 9 on the other side of the pickleball machines. And I would paint them, I would stripe them for pickleball courts so that we can bring out the temporary nets. By doing just those 2 things, we add 6 courts immediately to our pickleball capacity. Then we monitor. I believe the pickleball usage is similar to the card usage at the poolside community center. It's very busy during certain hours, and it's not busy during other hours. So if we can not initially take away tennis courts, open up the 2 courts that have the ball machine, stripe the other court for pickleball courts that we can bring out temporary nets. Again, we've got an immediate impact of 6. We've increased our pickleball court capacity by over 60%, not impacting anyone. That's what I would do to start.
We anticipated growth in pickleball when we created the pickleball courts. Did we undercreate? I don't think so. One of the things that you have to look back on is when we were playing on the tennis courts, there was a war going on, not in our world, but on our courts. Time of use, noise, everything goes along with having a good time on the pickleball court, right? We decided that the best option was to do exactly what we did finally. It created that. To go back and do that again right now, because we're in our early stages of use for pickleball, I believe it will continue to grow. We all do. It's a great sport. But to make changes back on the tennis courts again, 250 members or so versus 400 and so some members, we're going to have a fight again. And I don't think that's our intent. We need to go through this process of making sure that we properly use the pickleball courts in the time allotted. And to bring them back on the tennis courts, I think would just be a mistake, and cause issues that we don't want to have right now.
I'm just going to piggyback. I carry this article with me from the Santan News in November. It was an article on the city of Chandler. The city of Chandler has 10 outdoor pickleball courts at 5 parks across the city. And 8 of the 10 were under renovation. And the residents of Chandler were in an uproar that they only had 10 city publicly used pickleball courts. We have 10 here for just 7,000 residents. We should be very fortunate that we have that. Thank you, CJ.
Good afternoon, folks. Can you hear me? My name's Dave Irwin, Unit 38, Lot 50. I've been around since 2006. And I think I've been combating the communication issue for 98% of that time. The thing you have to understand about communication, it's a two-way street. People want to hear the message in order to get it. We have more methods of getting our information out than we did when I got here. But Michelle can tell you the number of hits on the website has increased every year. The number of people that sign up for SIL has increased. But the fact is, and you both hit on it, the demographics of this community is such that, I'm going to use round numbers, around 30% are represented by you type folks. You're involved, you communicate, you get other people to communicate, and the message gets out. Mary's a new unit captain, and there are unit captains here. Talk to them. They will tell you there are certain people who are working. They don't want to communicate. So I think the movers and the shakers, like the people in this room, keep us moving forward. And I have to think the quality of the message, as you said, is spot on. But be a part of it. Ask your neighbor, do you stay in the loop? Do you pick up the newsletter? Okay. Thank you. I'm done.
Was there a question there,
Was there a
Dave?
question?
Is there a question, Dave? Yeah.
We know, Michelle, can you just answer, because you and I talked about this the other day, the number of people that click on the banner at the very top, click here for Abby's events was like 300 each time it goes out to 7,000 plus email addresses.
Okay, gentlemen. From the sounds of it and from the looks of it, I think your audience questions are over. I think, John, you're up next. We had reached that point in our meeting that each candidate has 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes to do closing argument, discussion, presentation. It's up to you. And Bill still has his sign. John?
Again, thank you for all of you coming today and sticking with us. And thank you for the questions. They're similar if you look back over time to the questions that tend to be asked. One question that was missing today, and in my 3 years of running for office, I heard every time is, how many times did you eat in the restaurant? That didn't come out today. It was there every time. So we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot with this. There's been some new inferences that I believe that will lead us to some new decisions in the future. But I do believe heartedly that we have a great organization. Blue Star took us from losing $600,000 to $700,000 a year of cash over budget in food and beverage. That's huge. That's helped pay for a lot of things that we probably wouldn't have today without assessments. That turn itself, when Gary Marquette, God rest his soul, he's a great man. We miss him a lot. Gary Marquette and I teamed up to make sure that we were able to do this. And I very seldom to say my name is part of it, is I, but we pushed very hard to make this work. I don't know if you all know, we started out with a organization, bringing in an organization that was two-part, the financial side and the operations side. Gary and I knew at that time that it wouldn't work, but we let it flow. The company name is Associa. Blue Star blew them out of the water about 4 or 5 months in, and recognized the fact that they could take the whole organization on. And since then, look around us, look at the differences, look at the change. We have a partner in Blue Star. And I think that's very important to say. It's a partner in Blue Star that increases their reputation, obviously, but has taken us to the level we're at today. Pickleball probably wouldn't have happened without Blue Star. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. John, thank you for your past service here. Anybody that spends time volunteering should be commended. Yesterday, I was in the fitness center and I saw Kwong, our tennis pro. Kwong says, "So I see you're running for the board." I said, "I am." And he said, "How'd that come about?" And I said, "Well, at the pickleball lighting ceremony, Judy Gay-Hyde introduced me to Paula Ferguson. Said, 'Here's somebody you should know, Paula.'" And Paula and I began a conversation. And I said, "Of course, I didn't think about it, but I would be interested. What do you recommend I do?" She said, "Get on some committees, attend the meetings, arm yourself with the knowledge about how this community works, listen to what the people say, and be able to take that to the board and move it forward." So for me to represent you, again, I'm not a board member, I'm you. I'm you. I pay the same dues you pay the same utilities you pay. I happen to participate in some activities that many of you participate with me. If you choose me, I will take your input, just like I did with Kevin this week, Steve Newkirk on the pickleball. I will take input from you, bring it to the board in a professional manner, prioritize it based on the wants and needs and the financial capabilities of the community. When I see somebody like Dave Irwin get up here and chat, I've been here since 2003, or some of you have lived here for 20, 25 years. I only hope that in 20 years, I can be coming up to that podium to ask the board candidates a question and say, "I've been living here for 20, 23 years. I think when you get me, you get somebody that's engaged, that will be on the front, that's a mega team player. Again, ask anybody that plays with me on the courts who knows me. I'm a gatherer of people, a gatherer of information, and at the end of the day, I'm very, very logical. I would love to be on the board. I would love to see this community grow. I encourage all of you to be involved in whatever you want. I was talking to Stephanie the other day on the phone, and I said, "And I know that there's a great group of people here." And I was driving, and I said, like this couple that are walking down the road right now, this is why they love living here. Gated community, they can walk the streets and see their neighbors, and that's what they want. So again, I thank you for your time, Mary. I thank you and Doug for organizing this. I thank everybody for their confidence if you choose to elect me as the next board of directors candidate. Thank you very much.
Okay, on that note, we need to thank these two gentlemen for stepping forward to volunteer their time as they have. And also, I think you all need to thank yourselves because you took the time to sit here for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and listen to what they had to say, which gives you a much better idea of where they're coming from. Now, at this point, they're going to have some time to come down off the stage and talk to you one-on-one if you so desire. And if not, you are free to go home and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So thank you all for coming.